Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, recently the game has had a few share of its issues, more so than normal. So some of you have had an issue with the wrong Titan crystals, some of you had an issue with the top 30 prestige, some of you had an issue with the new Elders difficulty, some of you have had an issue with the removal of energy refills, some of you have had an issue with the frequency of the sales and the things going on with the sales because the web store was broken and people still have not necessarily gotten all their points. Some of you have had an issue with the connection stability in Alliance War and all the disconnects and the crashes. Some of you are having an issue with the AI being absolutely horrible. Some of you have an issue with a multitude or all of those things. And plethora of others. I'm sure that I missed out on quite a few. But evidently there is this kind of like post-trending now, where effectively everything is getting pushed on crashed and Kabam crashed. So just when you think can't get any worse in this game, Kabam Crash says, hold my beer. Honestly, the downward spiral started when they gave Crash the reins. Before we had bugs and crashes, he's single-handedly making decisions for almost a year now that have done nothing but cause players to quit and bring the B word again. And effectively, there's quite a few people kind of piling up on Kabam Crashed. And he has replied. And we're going to read that reply, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions of Kabam Crashed as well. And what I think of the situation. So, my boss told me, if I talked honestly with the community about the business side of the game, I would paint a bullseye on myself. Most devs don't do this, but I think treating community like adults is the best approach. A lot of criticisms are fair. I work hard to try to make the game better. A lot of what me and my team have worked on has gone well, but there are also decisions we have to make that players don't like. And yes, when it comes to the energy economy and prestige 30, I'm one of the most senior people involved in those decisions. I'm working on dev diary that will explain why we have made those decisions. I'm sure many will disagree with the choices, but at least you will all know why. Having said that, I don't think it's fair to say I have made the game all about monetization. I don't get to set our revenue targets. It's not my call on how much money we are expected to make. Edit. Also, I'm one of the more senior people who is visible to the community, but you seem to imply I'm in charge of the game. I am not. First things first. I actually like Rush. He's one of the few Kabam employees that I genuinely kind of respect. Of the way he carries himself, of the way he speaks, whenever he appears on a Kabam stream, I know it's gonna be less kind of like fake laughs, fake smiles, silly puns. It's gonna be more of an information and argumentation of why something has been done the way it has, what's coming to the game, and it's always kind of like, you know, the way I like those things to be. Also, you know, the way he explains himself. A lot of the things that, you know, he or they do, even if I don't like them, I can see the reason behind it. Doesn't mean that I agree with everything he says or he does. I absolutely do not. And I do want to kind of distinguish that difference because we're definitely having a lot of Kabam employees who, you know, are, what's the best way to put it? Might be doing a great job, but at the same time, definitely are not my cup of tea kind of people. Not the type of people I would want to have a beer with, or not the type of people that I perceive to be competent, or at the very least upfront about the things that they're doing and saying. And you know, when Kabam Crash says, you know, this is why we're doing it, I actually kind of believe him. I do think that I'm not necessarily always, you know, privy to all the information, but I do things like, okay, that kind of typically makes sense. And then there's a whole bunch of Kabam employees who write something, and I always look for the subtext, for the lines in between them, because you just know that they are effectively trying their best to twist and spin and gaslight stuff. And I appreciate that from Kabam Crash. So this part about being upfront with the community, painting a bullseye on yourself, I kind of get it, because I do think a lot of people, you know, get exceptionally angry and, you know, about the issues of the game, and as do I at times. But I have never found myself blaming Crush specifically for it. And as I said before, I kind of prefer him to just about any other Kabam employee that, you know, we have had, well, who's been publicly exposed to us in a sense. To further it, I'd actually love to have like a conversation with Kabam Crash or an interview or something of the sort at some point. Now, I know they will never let me do that because I'd actually ask, fairly critical things, and Kabam would never expose themselves to that. I still promise I would be perfectly cordial, and, there would be it wouldn't be like an aggressive self-interview. But there are a lot of things that, I'd like to kind of like find out and just pick his brain off. But regardless, I'm sure that that will never happen, because in the past I have had good relationships with some Kabam employees who do no longer work there. But at the time when they did, they were expressly prohibited to do an interview with me under the guise that you're only allowed to do it with CCP members, basically. So, that put aside, still would be awesome. But there are here as well several issues with the post in itself. And number one was I would like to so if I talked honestly with the community about the business side of the game, I'd paint a bullseye and, treating community like adults. Then it's kind of ironic that communication at large is one of the biggest issues with the game right now. And there are a plethora of examples of players not getting information at a time it is needed and just about everything. We can start with mentioning like Elder's difficulty. We did not get the rewards breakdown properly up until the content actually launched. For example, the biggest example right now would be even a small thing like BG metas, for instance. Kabam is not telling them until the off-season starts, for the most part, when we can see them ourselves in the game already. So it's impossible for us to kind of like future-proof our rank ups in regards to volume. But it is not just that. Also, when it comes to top 30 prestige, for instance, Kabam said that adaptive difficulty prestige, based event quest is going to be a thing, and they talked about it for like 3 or 4 months. And not once they mentioned that it's going to affect Alliance quest as well, and that it's going to effectively be game-wide. Up until like 5 days before it went live. So for months they discussed how awesome the adaptive difficulty is going to be, how awesome the elder difficulty and all that stuff is. And then at the very last moment they were like, oh yeah, you know what, top 30 prestige for AQ2. So that is not what's being called up front. That is the opposite of that. That is the slimy backhanded move of a coward. It can't be that you just forget to mention it. I absolutely refuse to believe it. You chose to hide that information from the community, knowing that a ton of people will be rightfully so very pissed off. And that's not treating us like adults. It genuinely isn't. And it's not just the top 30 prestige thing either. It's also this whole energy conundrum. Because when the Alliance Weekly Super Event launched, which at this point I think was just a pretext to kind of like ease into the nerf of specific resources, to be honest, because the entire event sucks. Basically pointless change. There was no noticeable upgrade to anything. And as soon as people noticed that energy refills are gone from the weekly Alliance events, the reply was, well, you're not going to need as much energy because you're not having to do the lower EQ difficulties. As it fucking turns out, we do need that energy a lot. And then Kabam was like, yeah, it looks like you might need that energy. We're going to give you that back, but we're going to take energy out of the 4-hour crystals. Why? Why couldn't you just give it back? Right? So again, none of that is being upfront or treating community like adults. So, I will definitely have to call bullshit on this one. Communication, it's in itself, is in a very, very bad place. And discarding all the other examples that I have just mentioned, the most brutal one is moderation of the forums. The forum moderation has been abysmally low. The only thing the mods do in forums now is like they eventually delete the threads and responses that they do not like. And then reply to some like, oh, who would you like to have your oddball rank for, or something like that. Like they post on inconsequential things. But for instance, when it comes to addressing like the energy shortage, There were like 14 threads made discussing the issue with energy refill situation. And there was not even saying, oh, we're looking at it, we're bringing it to the team's attention, it's like I'm finding out exactly what's happening here, or any of that stuff. There was an utter and complete silence up until the time they eventually made some sort of announcement, like a week or God knows how much later after these issues got first brought up. And the same thing goes in a lot of other issue threads. They just completely ignore them, don't comment, don't post updates on anything. And then, you know, either they do or do not do something. But the communication all the way till the final resolution, possibly, virtually non-existent. So that also isn't treating community like adults, in my opinion. And second part is going to be talking about the monetization and the monetization goals and monetization targets. And Kabam also kind of needing to realize that the monetization doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? And the amount of monetization this game has, the state of the game is just unacceptable. The quality of the content that gets released, the amount of care and love that gets put in the content compared to how aggressively Kabam is monetizing. Again, we went from like 3 sales a year to 4 sales a year to 6 sales a year to a point where there's going to be like 10 sales a year, for instance, and all of them expecting you to have ungodly amount of cash or units. And the inflation of the game has in no way been consistent with the extra units that we can earn from here or there, or how much faster it is to grind arena now or anything like that. It has absolutely skyrocketed. And even if he's not the person that is setting the monetization goals, he is in a position, you know, to bring up the issues of the game, the budget that they have for fixing the game issues. And it would, first of all, I'm not supporting and I'm not encouraging Kabam to do it. But, you know, if there would be half the bugs that exist, I'm not even going to say there would be no bugs, because I have zero faith that Kabam would ever achieve that. But if there would be half the bugs that currently exist in the game, if the content actually felt good on the time of the launch, like Elder's difficulty is one of the most abysmal things Kabam has ever released in the wild, with the amount of health and attack and how shit the rewards are compared to like everything else in the game. Like, Elder difficulty had twice the attack values, about the same health pools as 9.3, and about 1/5 of the rewards, realistically speaking, or, you know, a quarter of the rewards. And it took effectively longer or as long to do. Like, only way for that is either somebody is extremely malicious and dumb, or there's just not enough love and care and quality control put in. Anybody remember when new pieces of content actually kind of like were exciting? For instance, new story chapters used to be exciting. If I need to remind you guys, in Act 5 and the beginning of Act 6, you know, we had very number of paths, very number of fights on a path. Each fight had different notes. You know, you could see that somebody has actually sat down and tried to design like, you know, a piece of content, whether we loved it, whether we didn't love it as much, and, you know, we got pissed off at something, that's different. But there is an undeniable quality gap in between how Act 5 and Act 6 used to be, in terms of, again, individual care, uniqueness, the sense of it, compared to Act 7, 8, and 9 for most part. It's or even the monthly event quests. Like, they haven't come up with new monthly event quest nodes for like half a decade now, to a point where half of the class related nodes do not work. As a good example will be the tech node again, where virtually none of the champions released in last 2 years in tech class have armor or buffs or work with those nodes, with like exception of Ironheart, but even Ironheart switches off that node. And that's just a direct result of Kabam not freaking making new nodes. And in content like that, all the new champions completely outdated. Like Mutant Class. Mutant Class used to be, quote unquote, known for regeneration and promise effects. Now that has completely shifted. Now it's like all about Downteds and Neuroshocks and stuff like that. And none of the new nodes reflect that, or take that into the account. And again, so when the mutant quests come up, you know, the new champions often are like, well, unusable or mid or whatever. And that is just example of Kabam being stagnant and lazy with their approach to the quest. Whilst we are effectively receiving poorer and poorer content, poorer and poorer product, less, good product, more lazy quests, more lazy events, they are increasing the monetization, which is the big issue here. One of the big issues. And the last bit is, again, about the monetization goals and the financial policy. Like, I don't know how many of you guys are aware that MCOC is effectively one of the very, very few success stories, if not the only success story Kabam Studio has currently. And as a matter of fact, income and revenue from MCOC has funded failed projects after failed projects after failed projects. Like the Disney Mirrorverse, like the Transformers game, like that Realm of Legend, Realm something, whatever that Realm thing was that Gabe wanted to make with his off-brand Marvel characters. King Arthur is probably made by the income of MCOC, and I'm sure there are some other games that, I can't be bothered to remember. Fact of the matter is that MCOC is generating net positive revenue year after year, year after year. Is one of the few things that has allowed Kabam Studio to experiment and create new games and new projects and stuff like that. Therefore, it is absolutely abysmal to see that virtually none or very little of the money gets reinvested back into the MCOC project. Like, how they have still layoffs, for instance, for MCOC. Like, that should be absolutely inexcusable. Additional thing is how Kabam always says, like, graphic designer can't go and fix your bugs or work on better AI and stuff like that. You are absolutely correct, but MCOC generates enough revenue for you to be able to hire a person who solely works on a new AI, or 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 people who do that, and, do it as a temporary contract and, hire them for a set amount of years if need be, or however you need to structure it. But saying, like, oh, these people don't do that, and that's why it's taking so much time, and that's why this game currently has 389 active bugs. It's like, all of that can be solved with extra hirings, extra love and care, extra budget being granted to those departments and people who are responsible of that, who are able to deal with these situations better. And in general, the response to the issues by Kabam has become worse over the years. As a good example here would be a release of 6.2. 6.2 got released with inflated attack and health values. Still remember it clear as day, because they fixed it after I had completed it. But the point is, they realized it, and they changed that within like a day, like half a day. That was God knows how many years back now. Effectively, point being is 6.2 was, significantly overtuned with extra attack and health. And Kabam adjusted in like a day. And a situation now that we're happening with the Went Quest, I'm happy Kabam's addressing it and changing it and all that stuff. But it took weeks now. It took like, a week or whatnot, 10 days. That is significantly large amount of time than they used to take dealing with issues like that. And now you can say, okay, they need to redistribute the rewards and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But they could have reduced the attack and health values to begin with, then, worked out the rewards, for instance, for next month or whatever. Point being is, there used to be more urgency with the player-related issues and bugs and, connection issues and just quality control in general. Doesn't seem to be the case as much anymore. So whilst I like Kabam Crashed as a guy, I like the way he speaks and the way he arguments himself, it is undoubtable that there are significant issues in the game that have become worse, a lot worse, in recent years, as an example. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about